So the reveal for Spider-Man 2 yesterday was absolutely massive, and it turns out it's not the only thing that is massive, because according to the voice actor behind Venom, he has confirmed that the game in general is literally massive. Now, we got tons to get through in this video, but I want to know how hyped up you are for that reveal yesterday, and especially Wolverine as well. Get in the comments below and let me know right now, and drop a like on this video. But let's dive into this, right? So it all started off with the voice actor, like I said, for Venom, and when we talk massive, by the way, in terms of the game size, are we talking like density? Are we talking the map in general? That can be taken in two ways, right? So let's break down what actually happened first of all. So somebody actually tweeted Todd in a nutshell, just asking if it's true and how long he has known, and then ultimately just saying that their excitement level is absolutely through the roof. Then Tony went ahead and responded, who is, like I said, the voice actor for Venom, that 2 months or so, the game is massive. That's why it won't come out until 2023. Now, you see, that's the big thing. That's probably one of the biggest things that threw a lot of people off. Definitely myself, I was really disappointed when I saw 2023. But now, kind of having that reassurance that the game is going to be massive, that's where it's getting me thinking about the whole map in general, because the map for the first game was relatively big and it was pretty dense as well, to be fair. The only thing that can really be switched up, I mean, in terms of, you know, the exploration element and actually being able to go inside buildings, that was something that was kind of taken out from Spider-Man PS4. So with that taken into account, I'm imagining, and again, it would just make that map feel massive in general if you can go inside buildings, just like the other Spider-Man games as well, and, you know, literally explore and come across like these random crime events, but when you're in a building, right? Another situation was like with Miles Morales, when you had that mission when you was going through the mall. What if you could literally go into a mall in this game? Maybe I'm just getting really excited and all of that stuff is simply not doable, but I'm taking into account that this is going to be on the PlayStation 5. I mean, when you like literally compare the power on the PlayStation 4 versus PS5, there is a huge difference, and look what they pulled off with the PlayStation 4 version, right? So that's just me setting my expectations personally, probably really high, based on the fact that we know what Insomniac games are actually capable of. Now, another thing that has a lot of people wondering is the game going to be co-op, right? Because it was a no-brainer. You see Spider-Man, and then you see Miles Morales, and we know we've had these two separate games. So can it be one of those different scenarios where you have these protagonists ultimately, and you're kind of like switching through these characters whenever you like? I mean, literally, in an ideal world, okay, it would be great to, let's just use GTA 5 as an example, because I'm trying to just pick something that I feel everyone's going to be able to visualize what I'm visualizing. Just like they have the character wheel, right, for those characters, what if it was something like that in Spider-Man 2, and then you can just like randomly switch to Miles Morales, and then maybe he'll be in like, I don't know, action and combat in general, and then you got to take out bad guys, and then vice versa, you go back to Peter Parker, etc. You see where I'm going with this stuff, right? Now, we do have some bad news to that. So, is the game going to have co-op? Well, basically not, and the reason why we know that is because it's pretty much been confirmed by Insomniac Games. So, despite the trailer featuring both, like I said, Peter Parker and Miles Morales fighting together, the studio confirmed that the game will not feature any co-op, and it will still be a solo adventure. And I think it's safe to say that was another thing that kind of threw a lot of people off, but it's one of those things that, you know, you're kind of willing to sacrifice. It's not literally the end of the world, right? Because as far as, you know, Spider-Man PS4 went, that was a single player game with just one character, and that was really, really fun, right? So again, this is where I kind of go into, well, I guess my point when I said about switching characters, technically that's not even co-op, right? I mean, it's not even technically, it's literally not co-op. So maybe you can actually have that feature to where you're playing as two characters, but it's literally still a single player story game. Like, that would be good enough for me. And again, it's taken into account that the longevity of the game will need to be there this time around, hopefully. But again, I mean, when you look at the 2023 release date, are we talking early 2023? Are we talking, you know, summer? Or are we talking literally towards the end of 2023? Because we're going to go in this weird sort of, I guess, situation now where the game is technically going to go silent, right? You're probably going to get some information here and there. You may well get some leaks, who knows? Usually that stuff does happen, but I don't know. It depends like how strict they're going to be with that stuff and what will actually be able to be leaked, and I don't know, it's one of those things, right? I don't think we did have a whole bunch with Spider-Man PS4, but equally it was about building up those theories, it was about building up the community in general, right? That's where a lot of people came together, and that time really went fast. So again, when you take that stuff into account, it's like, okay, well, let's just assume we're not going to get a delay and it's 2023. It's not actually the worst, it's just a matter of what are we going to see between now and then, because that Wolverine game is not going to be happening until way after Spider-Man, because that is in early development, right? So I mean, we're still in that situation where the only game we're going to be able to have fun with in terms of a new Spider-Man is of course going to be Marvel's Avengers, but I genuinely believe that Marvel's Avengers will actually be the game to literally fill the gap between, well, now and then when Spider-Man 2 actually releases. That's just my opinion, because that's got longevity to it. We know there's going to be more content in general, so that's pretty big within itself, right? And that's something that I think the community will genuinely appreciate. Now, just going back on what I touched up on slightly in regards to longevity of the game, when you go back to Spider-Man PS4, the story was great, everything was great. Then once you've done that, apart from New Game Plus mode, I guess there wasn't really a whole lot going on, right? Sure, you can kind of like do these fun glitches, etc., but in terms of longevity, it definitely then became one of those games that you unfortunately put to the side, not because you want to, it's just kind of like you have to, right? But then equally, when you pick it up after a good couple of months, it's super fun to go ahead and play again. So it could be one of those scenarios, but again, I think map size is one thing, but map density is also another thing. You can have a humongous map that just basically feels empty, so the game could be massive, right, in terms of the map and buildings and a whole bunch of stuff in terms of like the city, but then the density could basically just not be there. But again, we're talking about Insomniac Games, so we know they have the track record and they've been assigned to these two very big titles, so I mean, come on, you gotta have high expectations, right? But guys, I want you to leave your thoughts on this stuff in the comment section below, and that's gonna wrap up this video here. Is it something you was expecting? I mean, if you watched yesterday's video, you definitely knew it was something I was expecting, because this Spider-Man DLC for Marvel's Avengers is basically around the corner as well. So again, it's just that element of having a game to fill that gap that also is going to have longevity because there's going to be new content, right? So it's like building up for that stuff, whereas last time for Spider-Man PS4 we didn't have any sort of Marvel game like Marvel's Avengers, right? So we literally just had to wait for this Spider-Man game, and then of course it was one of those things that just completely went wild. But I want you to leave your thoughts on all of this stuff in the comment section below. Like I said, it's going to wrap up this one here, so I'll see you in the next one. Till then, have yourselves a ridiculously amazing day, and adios amigos.